Hello, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Welcome to another video. In this one, I want to talk about trust. Trust in yourself, how to cultivate it, how to develop a sense of whether something is good, bad, whether it's something you need, don't, equipment-wise, whether a sound example really sounds better after it's been put through something you think that you need. I think there are ways to gauge this stuff, to tune the kind of instruments inside to make those decisions. I also think there's a lot of forces competing for your attention and chipping away, death a thousand cuts kind of style, at your ability to really use and call upon your objectivity to decide if something is good or not. And eventually you're going to really have to rely on the trust that you built up in yourself, because the purchases are going to get more extreme, and there's going to be more stuff that you want. And also it's going to affect your taste and your ability to discern for yourself what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. Your cues, everything comes from this sense of whether or not you can trust your ears. So I want to talk about that. I'm going to talk about some things that I think are chipping away at it and strategies that you can use to hone that gear, that internal kind of equipment to decide if what sounds good sounds good. I want to start off by saying that there's a few weird things that kind of happen. One of them is that you ever notice that when something new gets released, it's almost like a knee-jerk reflexive thing to go and seek out a forum or a community to decide how you're going to feel about something. You ever notice that? Like the new Spitfire library was just released, and I almost had to resist the urge to hop onto VI control. Nothing wrong with VI control, by the way. But that's a weird thing, isn't it? I mean, usually it's just go to the website, listen to the sound examples, listen to the walkthroughs, and then make a determination. Now, the flip side of that is, I'm not stupid. Obviously, now we live in this kind of environment where we research things to an insane amount, right? We almost write a dissertation when we're going to go buy a new product. So these tools are expensive, right? And we want to buy them all, but we only have money for one. And we want to know that what we're buying and downloading and using is actually going to be worth it and worth our time, worth our money. So obviously, I think forums have a very important role to play in, healthy debate and community and just discussion around the value of certain things. And I think we need spaces outside and free of influence from companies and all the rest of it, and forums provide a place for that kind of debate and discussion. But it's interesting psychologically that we just instantly just jump to forums when we want to decide if something is worth it for us. We are the ultimate decider of that. I did a video a little while ago about buying studio monitors. It's my most popular video, but anyway, that's a side note. It's crazy. But in that video, I talk about buying speakers that you can trust, right? So speakers that you can trust mean, they're representing what's on the hard disk, and your room is tuned and treated, and you've got your speakers coming at you, and the sound coming out of those speakers is reflecting what's actually in the music. And when you have that, when you have an honest, objective kind of output of the sound, you can make decisions and determinations more accurately about whether something needs to be brighter or darker or more compression or whatever it happens to be. But there's another layer, and that's your own ears and taste. And those things which guide you to go, is this boost sounding better than it did before? Is this compressor really helpful? I don't really know. So that's why it's important. I have a little piece of paper where I'm writing down everything, just so I can remember to say it in this video if I glance at it every now and then. Let's talk about some of the forces that I think are competing and eroding your sense of trust in yourself. One of them is irrational loyalties. Chomsky got a good quote on this. It was about politics, but I think it relates a little bit to our situation. He talked about how when he was in school, when the football team, did really well and they scored and they won the game, he would feel great, but when they didn't perform well, he would feel sad. The whole school would feel sad. And after a while, he'd sort of question this. He goes, why do I care so much when we lose or when we win? Why do I feel so elated when we win and feel so down when we lose? I didn't go to the game. I don't know any of the players on the team. I don't know their names. I don't know the score. I just know that we won or we lost. And it's because, he says, we form these weird irrational loyalties to things. And I went through a little bit of this on my own side when it came to buying new gear and stuff, with respect to analog emulated, stuff, hardware, Universal Audio, amazing stuff. Don't get me wrong. Great company, but I wanted everything they did. I wanted the LA2A. I wanted the Fairchild stuff. I wanted the, 1176. I wanted everything that they made. And it just dawned on me, a year into this kind of gear obsession, why do I care so much about this stuff? I didn't grow up with LA2As. My dad didn't own a studio and record people, and I like dusted light bulbs, and when he'd leave, I'd like play with the faders and record stuff. I have no emotional connection to this stuff at all. So why do I care so much that I have to have it? Why is that compressor an LA2A? That just means that now I have the best vocal compressor out there, and it is a great compressor, don't get me wrong, but why do I need to have it? If I go back and look and listen to the albums that, they say it was used on, the Rolling Stones and early Beatles stuff and all that stuff, if you actually listen to that stuff, I don't think it's the gear that made it great. I think it's the songwriting and the melodies that made it great. The gear had a little bit to do with it, but even on a gear level, I prefer the way things sound now. They're brighter, more bass can get through, longer program times. So question the loyalties that you have to certain things, because there's a good chance that some of that stuff just might be irrational, coming from nowhere, coming from a place of, it's really great marketing and it's convinced me that this is something that I need, but maybe you don't really need it, or you're not using your ears enough to evaluate the value of something and the necessity of something to bring it into your toolkit because of some kind of irrational loyalty. A great example of a forward-thinking kind of turn for the industry is FabFilter. They're Pro Q2, I think it's called. They're had Pro EQ1, Pro Q2 now. There's a company who, they're not hearkening back to any kind of GUI that belongs in the analog world. It's a total forward-thinking, flat, non-skeuomorphic design. But people who use it love it, and it's become like a kind of industry standard. It's a parametric EQ, subtractive EQ, but if you watch mix with the masters or whatever, everyone is using that EQ, and it's kind of this really important pivot and shift away from the rear view mirror of this was used on X record by Y producer during this time and all the rest of it, and into some kind of other place where it's about utility, ease of use, and ultimately sound. And none of that is being informed by the way the plugin looks. If anything, it looks like it belongs on a spaceship, not, some classic, 20,000 hit recording studio wall or anything like that. So I think that's an example where we're kind of turning the corner and we've moved away from irrational loyalty to gear and stuff that we don't really have a huge connection with, which is a good thing. And again, we have to be careful a little bit. I said mix with the masters a minute ago. There's influencers, right? There's people who are kind of guiding your focus and attention to certain products. But I do think that's an example of a good push away from this weird kind of idolatry of analog gear. And I thought it was worth mentioning. I think the other thing when it comes to things that erode your own sense of what's good and what's not good and what you need and what you don't need is the fact that trust really doesn't exist in a forum, in an anonymous community. And while the conversations are very important, ask yourself the next time you're putting a lot of weight into a comment by someone. Ask yourself, do I know this person? Do I know their ears? Can I trust their ears? And if you can't answer those questions, then you have to ask yourself what value that comment really is. Because a lot of the forums, again, great discussion, great conversation, don't get me wrong, but you have people making assertions and saying things like, oh, this didn't work on my stuff, and I don't know, and it sounds this, it sounds that. You're taking them at their word, but you don't really know who they are, or you don't know what their ears are like. So be aware of that. Now, I feel like I'm kind of going down the spiral of negativity here with this section, but I think that there are ways to kind of combat the new consumer environment that we're in, where we just want everything all the time. One of those ways is to have a sense of objectivity when you're listening to audio examples from a company. So ask yourself, when you listen to a before and after something, do I like this because it's better or different? Once we get to the B from the A, the before to the after, or do I like it because it sounds louder? That's one of the things that happens a lot when you add processing, when you add EQs and all the rest of it. Certain things sound different, but certain things get louder, and we have a weird kind of physiological response to loud stuff. We're more interested in loud stuff. I don't know why, but we just are. So there's a good chance that you like the after of something, not necessarily because it has more distortion or whatever, but because it's more audible and more apparent to your ears. So be aware of that. Also, I think you need to be aware of the fact that as human beings, we seem to put a lot of emphasis and weight on negative comments and negative opinions and attitudes. You'll go to an Amazon review and you'll see 400 people glowing, 5-star reviews, but for whatever reason, we all do it. We click on the 0-star reviews or the low ranking reviews or whatever. And we put a lot of weight and emphasis on those for some reason. I don't know why we do. I think it's probably for the same reason that we love the news, and the news is always bad. We're just naturally interested in finding out about stuff that might harm us and hurt us. So people just watch the news constantly, even though it's all bad, terror, car chase, whatever. We have a weird tendency to place a lot of weight and power on negative comments. I know I do it on my channel. I'll have a video that goes up and I've got, 150 likes and a couple of dislikes, and I think, like, what did I do wrong? I go in the comments, I've got a lot of positive comments and stuff, and then I've got one person who just writes this scribe just tearing me apart, and I think, wow, maybe I have to like re-upload this video or whatever. We are drawn to this stuff for some reason, and should be aware that, well, it's not like, majority rules. If it's everyone's saying it's great, but just be aware that we're kind of tuned to be more connected with the negative comments and the negative reviews. So when you're looking for plugins or whatever, you're on a forum and someone just tears apart this company or the sound or whatever, just again, be aware, how much can I trust this person? Do I know their ears? All the rest of it, getting back to that. Rely on yourself and your own instruments and gear to make these determinations. Read the opinions. It's important. Again, diversity of voices is great, but you need to make the ultimate decision for yourself and be aware of the kind of biases that you have for irrational loyalty, and also this weird kind of focus of attention on the negative stuff. When it comes to YouTubers and stuff like that, I think it's important to have people out there that you trust. And also, it's important to be signed up for emails and all the rest of it. I am signed up to a lot of lists. It would bring you to tears how many emails I get every day. But I want to know what's new. I want to know what's coming out and all the rest of it. But when it comes to YouTube, I think it's really important to go with influencers and people on YouTube that you trust, that have proven themselves to be objective voices of reason over a long period of time, not just popped up or whatever, but people establish trust and credibility over a long period of time. And if you can identify certain people in the YouTube world or Twitch world or Twitter, Reddit, whatever, that's who you should go with. Use your own kind of sense of whether or not you can trust them. And then, even after they praise something, use your ears, go to the website, listen for the walkthroughs are great. I find the ones that Spitfire do are really great, because what they do is, instead of listening to the demos, which are all going to sound amazing, they're supposed to sound amazing. I've written demos for companies that have been rejected because they don't sound amazing enough, and I think they sound great. But anyway, they go through a lot of rounds of feedback, and they're mastered, they're mixed really well and everything, and they're designed to sort of, give you a sense of what the library can do. But when you listen to the walkthroughs and Paul Thompson just like hitting a key and getting a note, that's cool, because then you can hear that note in isolation from, time-based effects, and in isolation from EQ, and you can really hear the kind of naked truth behind the quality of sampling or whatever. So that's really important too, is to just listen to things in the abstract, away from all the things that can make it sound great once it's brought into an arrangement and there's time-based effects and it's mastered and all the rest of it. So those are a couple of tips and strategies I think that you can use to build the instruments within you to discern what you need, what you don't need, what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. And again, this is so important for you to build up over the course of your career. You don't want to be outsourcing critical thought and opinion to people whose ears you don't know you can trust, or whose opinions you're just placing a lot more value than you need to in. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? Do you guys struggle with this at all? I know I did when I was just buying anything and everything, and I didn't really have a critical ear to determine what I needed and didn't need, and what sounded good and didn't sound good. Are there influencers out there that you think are really killing it that I should know about? Who are they? Why do you like them? Why do you trust them? We don't have to go the other way and tell me people you don't like. Let's just focus on the people that you do like. Are there reputable sources or forums or places that you guys go to get the kind of naked truth about something? What are your own systems and thought processes when it comes to deciding if you need something or don't need something? I'm really curious to know about that. So thank you so much for watching. We'll do a little bit of end card stuff, where I'll put up some videos that you might want to see. Take care. Have a great weekend. And just keep working on tuning the instruments within you that will help you discern if you need something or don't, or if something sounds great or something doesn't sound great. Okay? Have a great weekend. Have a great Halloween. Bye.